Hello everybody, this is some random Neko, waking up from her nap to greet the world for the day. And by greet, I mean ponder the answer to the question, what do you get when you combine musical theater and high school drama with an all-male cast and make it an anime? If your answer is High School Musical the Animation K-Pop Survival Edition, you are correct! Here's a digital cookie. Jokes aside, Starmyu High School Star Musical follows Hoshitani Yuta, who enrolls in the prestigious Ayanagi Academy, a top-tier school known for producing exceptional musical talent in the hopes of finding the musical department student who inspired him, because nothing says inspiration like a hot guy dancing like there's no tomorrow. However, first-year students need to compete in what looks to be a year-long audition, which seems unnecessarily stressful in my opinion, if they want to enter the musical department. And if that wasn't enough potential drama, in comes the Cow Council, an elite group of third years all from the musical department who somehow possess a great deal of influence over the school and musical department admission process because of course they do. The fastest way for Hoshitani to succeed is to get on a star team, which would allow him to be taught by a member of the Cow Council. Luckily, he manages to catch the eye of the council's most eccentric member, Otori Itsuki. Joining him on his quest are stage-frightful roommate Naoki Toru, no social skills kabuki actor Tengenji Kakeru, actually has his life together Kugashu, and talented with the side of Big Brother issues Tsukigami Kaito. As Hoshitani struggles with his lack of skill, his teammates also have their own shortcomings to overcome. In the face of opposition from the other talented star teams and the Cow Council itself, Team Otori must carve their own path as they aim to perform at the Ayanagi Festival. Okay, I promise I'm done joking around now, though the embellishments I added are true. Anyways, we start off with Season 1 where we follow a group of zany characters who refuse to and face off against the student council who claim Otori's bid for change to be
sacrilegious.
All with plenty of songs, hijinks, and drama with a side of decent character development. The charm of Starmyu shines through the straightforward and feel-good story it's telling that's typical of the musical and idol genre. There's no deviation from the standard formula, and you can already assume that there will be a good outcome for our main characters. We're mainly focused on Hoshitani for this season though, so there isn't much of a chance for the others to shine in the spotlight separate from him, but we're still able to learn who they are as people and the goals they wish to achieve. Honestly, Season 1 feels more like an introduction and setup rather than a completed story. But that doesn't mean it doesn't have a good story to tell with brilliant moments like how it uses the song and narrative of Ayanagi Showtime, which is the song the star teams need to perform for their evaluations during the mid-season climax, to parallel the conflict between Otori and Hiragi, and as a means to highlight the difference in ideals between Otori and the Cow Council. In addition, we're introduced to whom I believe are the best characters of Starmyu and the only named female characters you're ever going to see, the Naoki twins Yuki and Tsumugi. They're witty, sassy, competent in their craft, root for their big brother, and take no crap from anyone, making each scene they're in the highlight of the episode. Before I move on to Season 2, I'm going to briefly mention the OVAs which, while they are filler, they're important and informational filler, which I don't really like, but considering the two OVA episodes would be considered episode 13 and 14 respectively, I can see why production didn't want to end the first season with them included, considering the number 4 in all its iterations mean bad luck in Japan. Anyways, the OVAs fill in the gaps between Season 1 and Season 2 by giving insight into why Akatsuki was such a douche canoe to Otori, and showing how the conflict between Otori and the Cow Council gets resolved. It's basically tying up Season 1's loose ends while setting the stage for Season 2. Now Season 2 is where Starmyu really begins to shine in both storytelling and character development, while making great use of its rapidly growing ensemble cast, though, RIP Team Akatsuki for not even getting names or lines, and half of Team Yuzuriha and Team Sazanami, who have names but also no lines. Spoiler alert, though it really isn't considering it's obvious what happens given the kind of anime this is. Now that the Stardust Boys have made it into the musical department, they're being tossed out of the frying pan and into the fire in their second year by preparing to audition for training roles in a graduation play with the seniors who have just graduated. The play in question is called Shadows and Lights, and boy oh boy does it have a lot of relevance and parallels to Season 2's plot, which makes the execution of the story actually pretty smart and kinda poetic. This is also evident in the themes that are explored this season as we move away from tradition versus change and focus on obsession versus inspiration, as now that Hoshitani succeeded in becoming a musical department student, he finally has his chance to fulfill his dream of performing with the upperclassmen who inspired him to begin his journey, only to meet his polar opposite in the form of Ageha Riku, who is so obsessed with Tsukigami's older brother that he's managed to perfectly copy said brother's performance in the graduation play. In addition, the other members of Team Otori get their chance to shine separate from Hoshitani, as they get development and screen time with the newly expanded ensemble. All in all, season 2 was just so good that I'm pretty sure this was the season that reeled watchers in hook, line, and sinker after presenting the bait that was season 1, since everything that was set up in season 1 paid off pretty darn well in season 2. I adored seeing our Stardust boys finally getting the spotlight they deserve while seeing how much they've grown. I was practically screaming in my bed like a lunatic when I got to see Hoshitani achieve his dream. And I just really love how the story comes full circle for Hoshitani and the respective relationships he had with Otori and Hiragi. It was just really satisfying to see everything unfold, and it really felt like the production team threw everything they had into giving a satisfying conclusion while having the characters in a good place growth-wise. But of course, all good things must come to an end as we arrive at season 3, and boy do I have opinions about it. There will be spoilers ahead, by the way, so don't say I didn't warn you. Season 3 made no sense to me. Don't get me wrong, I still enjoyed watching it because it was Starmyu, but it just wasn't that good compared to the first 2 seasons, and I ended up confused more times than should have been allowed. The pacing was all over the place. The plot lost its focus all the time. Actions are made with little to no concrete reasoning given behind them. The conflict keeps escalating without warning. There were too many characters, and they tried to balance this out by cutting it down so only 14 second years have plot relevance or lines, but for some reason, the other 11 second years just magically disappeared. The new Cow Council, while interesting, just made no sense in general. Not their motivations, not why they were chosen, and definitely not why they took the actions they did. The plot tries to draw parallels between what's going on with the Cow Council internally and what's happening with the second years internally, but they're not consistent with this, so the Cow Council just becomes a means to advance the plot. The opening ceremony performance has a lot of emphasis put on it, but they don't explain why it's so important in the grand scheme of things, or how it's supposed to bring about change, or why only Team Hiragi can perform it. They claim it's because Team Hiragi is the star of stars, but they sort of lost that status in season 2 when it was shown that Team Otori was the better received and better performing team. Hoshitani also suddenly has a new dream of performing with all the second years, which just kinda came out of nowhere, and it seemed to be more of a desire than an actual dream that the plot decided to just run with. There's also no obvious theme or message like in the previous seasons. Maybe something about leadership and the king metaphor from season 1 about having the power to chase your dreams versus the responsibilities and restrictions that come with that power. But they kind of gave up on that and instead focused back on the tradition versus change, but they couldn't figure out how they wanted to form the plot around it. Then finally, you have the conflict between Shiki and Fujisawa, which was the dumbest case of not communicating, misunderstanding intentions, and making assumptions I have ever seen. They seriously made it so their entire conflict could be summed up as a bad case of "notice me, senpai." It was quite clear that they didn't know what they were doing anymore because I was constantly asking, what was the point? Or, okay, but why? Which really isn't something you want happening for an entire 12-episode season. The ending was also really unrealistic even for Starmyu standards. Why was there actual freaking magic with Hoshitani sprouting wings and saving Shiki as he fell out of a clock tower? Like, I know this is an anime musical, but my suspension of disbelief can only go so far. No offense to the production team, but it really felt like they either didn't know what to do and just threw things at the wall to see what stuck, or weren't given enough time to flesh everything out before they had to complete production. I'm not mad about this though, just disappointed. Like, season 3 could have stayed focused on the king metaphor of having the power to fulfill your dreams versus the responsibilities and restrictions that come with that power, with the main source of conflict coming from the school board wanting to use the new Cow Council to protect Ayanagi Academy's traditions from further changes that were already started by Otori in season 1. Then the internal conflict in the new Cow Council could come from the 4 members being chosen by the board, with the board wanting Fujisawa to be the head, but the previous Cow Council fought for Shiki to become the 5th member and the head instead. The board only allowed this because Shiki was on the Star of Stars team, and they believed the other 4 members would keep him in line. But then, when the second years begin to win over 3 of the members one by one until Shiki has enough support to make the changes he wants to make instead of being a depressed and overworked potato, that would be the push needed for Fujisawa to stage a coup. This would then be the time to reveal that Shiki used to be friends with the other Cow Council members, being best friends with Fujisawa in particular. But their friendship fell apart because there was a difference in ideals between Shiki and Fujisawa, with neither being willing to compromise or communicate, and the other members didn't want to choose a side. Meanwhile, there could be a parallel storyline to this conflict with Hoshitani, the other second years, and the performance of opening ceremony. Maybe he and some of the second years were chosen to perform it, and he agrees to it, thinking that this could be a new dream for him to pursue. But the expectations everyone has placed on him because of the miracles he performed, and his lacking skill and experience clash once again, making him doubt as to whether he's even worthy of being considered a Cal Council candidate, or capable of dealing with the responsibility that comes with it, considering he knew jack shit about musical anything when he first entered the academy. And because of those expectations, he feels pressured into giving it his all and convincing himself this is a dream he wants to pursue. His encounters with Shiki could then be what helps him figure himself out, and the friendship they form would influence Hoshitani and the other second years to help resolve Shiki and Fujisawa's conflict. There could also be internal turmoil amongst the chosen second years, which almost leads to a breakdown in friendship, similar to what happened to the new Cal Council, but they manage to avoid that because they actually communicate. Then once everything's figured out, they could all band together to face the board and convince them that change is coming whether they like it or not, so might as well just buckle in and enjoy the ride. We would then end on all 25, yes, 25, not 14, 25, second years performing opening ceremony, but only 5 of them are wearing the Cal Council long coats, because having all 14 of them wear it is just absurd and way too idealistic even for Starmyu. Also, the 5 with the long coats were chosen by the second years instead of the Cal Council, which would be a good and reasonable change to the system, or something like that. Anyways, rant done. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. We're moving on, so let's talk about the music. In my opinion, the soundtrack slaps. Of course, there will be a few songs that aren't good or kind of bad since music preference is subjective, but overall, the songs are pretty good, though they do lean more on the pop genre side of things, but there is enough of a variety to not get repetitive. And, of course, since this is a musical idol type anime, there is always someone or some guys breaking out into song at least once every episode, accompanied by a dance sequence or a mini music video that is sometimes a little ridiculous, but we're just gonna go along with it anyways because why the heck not? It's anime. Heck, it's a musical themed idol anime. It can do whatever it wants. And if it wants a musical number to be accompanied by a mini music video, then gosh darn it, the musical number will be accompanied by a mini music video. Animation-wise, it's nothing to write home about. It's clean and nice to look at, and that's about it. Though I will give points for the fact that they never use CGI to animate the musical numbers and dance sequences. They really commit to doing everything with 2D animation, though it does come with some understandable compromises. But I'm thankful for this since, while I do enjoy the CGI sequences of similar shows and it is a versatile method of animation, the whiplash it gives me whenever they switch back and forth between 2D and 3D is sometimes not worth the headache nor the ingrained habit of cringing whenever it appears. Overall, Starmyu is not the greatest anime to ever exist, nor will it change your life if you do or don't watch it. However, while pretty boys singing, dancing, and having ambiguous friendships with each other was enough of a draw for me to start watching, there's a reason why I stayed and occasionally keep coming back to it. The story and characters are good enough to keep me invested, and the execution of its themes helps give me a motivational jumpstart whenever I need a pick-me-up. Because Starmyu is all about finding the inspiration that motivates you to become a better version of yourself while overcoming the obstacles that stand in the way of chasing your dreams, because a dream is not something you should easily give up on. And even if you are the space junk that falls off the stars that fly through the sky, you should never forget that even stardust can shine as bright as the lights in the night. All in all, I give Starmyu an A-. It's a shame it doesn't get more attention because it's a fun, feel-good anime with a charming story, good quality animation, and good music. Just don't watch anything beyond season 2 since doing so immediately drops the grade down to a B-, maybe even a C+ if I'm feeling especially cranky that day. So yeah, watch the first 2 seasons only and everything will be just fine. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Reminder that this is just my opinion, so you can take it with as many grains of salt as you want. I don't mind either way, and would love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I've also decided to give up on getting into some kind of rhythm with posting, and will just do my best when it comes to creating content. So yeah, you win this round, life! Anyways, feel free to like, subscribe, and comment which anime you'd like me to give my 2 cents about next. This is some random Neko going off to take a nap now. Don't forget to keep calm and just meow.